What's up guys, it's Eric from Rare Candy and welcome back to another entry into our testing round series where we take a look at some rough, unrefined deck ideas revolving around new cards that a set gives us and we try them out to see what has potential. So of course we are continuing our Ultra Prism coverage. So here on the left you actually have yours truly. I'm going to be playing the new Empoleon, and then over on the right we have Craig Adams, a local player from our area, and he's actually one of our patrons over on patreon.com/rarecandytcg, so big shout out to Craig and the rest of our patrons. And he was nice enough to agree to help me put this video together. And he's going to be playing the new Dusk Mane Necrozma and Magenzone from Ultra Prism. So a couple of exciting new deck ideas that we're going to try out here. Curious to see how these are going to stack up against each other. So it looks like Craig already has his basic Pokemon down, and looks like I have done the same. Looks like I'm starting with the Piplup. That's definitely a good starter. And it looks like Craig did win the coin flip, so let's see what he is going to get going on his first turn here. So he opens with Bridget, definitely the ideal first turn supporter for most decks. Lets him search 3 basic Pokemon out of his deck. So the idea with this Magenzone deck is the new Magenzone from Ultra Prism lets you attach as many Metal Energy as you want to any of your Pokemon. And then the new Dusk Mane Necrozma and the new Dialga GX are kind of your main attackers in this deck. So Dusk Mane Necrozma has a couple of good things going for it. Its main attack, I believe, does 220 damage and you discard 3 Metal Energy. The attack cost is 4, so use Magenzone to power that guy up pretty quickly. And then Dialga GX has kind of an interesting GX move for, I think it's like an insane 5 energy, but you do 150 and you get an extra turn, so we'll have to see if that comes into play at all here. But Dusk Mane Necrozma, definitely the main attacker of the deck. But here you can see Craig opting to get that Dusk Mane Necrozma and maybe potentially power up the Dialga at some point as well. Dialga also has kind of a good first turn attack if you need to use it as well. Its first attack for a Metal Energy, you get to draw until you have 6 cards in hand. So, if Craig ever has kind of a rough hand, he can maybe use that to refill his hand size. And here I have an Ultra Ball of my own, so I'm going to be able to get out Tapu Lele to go for Bridget, ideally. And here, it's one of those situations I have a Water Energy I can actually discard with Ultra Ball, but I actually want to save it to manually retreat into Alolan Vulpix this turn. And that's assuming it's not prized, of course. But here, let's see, it looks like I'm down a Remoraid, probably a Piplup, and like I said, if Vulpix is in the deck, getting Vulpix out as well, too. So here, it looks like I am going to get the Vulpix and then another Piplup. So this is honestly a pretty good start. Going to retreat into Vulpix, and then I can just use Beacon to search out a couple of evolution pieces out of my deck here. And here just debating if I want to play the Aqua Patch, but here let's go for it, and we'll play the Beacon and grab some evolution pieces. So Prinplup and Octillery both seem like good choices here. And so if you guys are unfamiliar with this Empoleon from Ultra Prism, it's kind of cool. It's a a 1 prize attacker, 160 hit points, but its main attack for 2 energy does 20 times the amount of bench Pokemon that's in play for both players. So if both players have a full bench of 5, you're doing 200 or 230 with a choice band, of course. So that's what this Empoleon deck is going to be based around. Here, Craig is going to Guzma up this Remoraid. I'm going to try to buy himself a turn, it looks like. So he has a Magneton on the bench, and basically next turn he has Magazine ready to go. He just needs some energy. It's one thing he's having some trouble getting right here. So here I'm going to evolve into Prinplup. I have that Octillery. I'm just debating, do I want to evolve into Octillery and try to, dig to get a Float Stone, like maybe attach the energy to my Prinplup? But here, I don't think I even really want to, so I think just paying the energy to retreat the Remoraid and evolving into Octillery is fine here. And I have an Empoleon ready to go for next turn on the plus side, and here I'm going to play Cynthia as well, so I might even be able to get out another Empoleon or another Empoleon evolution piece at the least this turn. So Cynthia, if you guys are unfamiliar with that, it's a new supporter card that came out of Ultra Prism. We raved about it in our set review. Definitely go check that out if you have not done so yet. But it lets you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. So basically a reprint of that old Professor Oak's new theory. And so here I'm just going to use Beacon, grabbing 1 Empoleon. So Beacon lets you get 2 Pokemon, but I'm only going to get the Empoleon because if I get another Pokemon, it's just going to stay in my hand and I can't play it. So this way I can actually draw more cards with Octillery, just grabbing the 1 Pokemon. So it looks like Craig finally got himself an energy there on Dialga. And here I think maybe he misplayed. I'm not sure, because now the Magnemite is stuck in the active spot. Okay, he does have a Guzma, so actually, nope, Craig did not misplay here. And he's going to bring up this Octillery, trying to strain it in the active spot, and then use that attack to draw until he has 6 cards. So, you know, he got his Magenzone out at a decent rate. He has his attackers in play, but just no energy to really get going. So, a little bit of a rough start from Craig over here. So here I'm just debating what I want to do. You know, I'm kind of thinking I might be able to even knock out this this Magnuson that Craig has in play. It's a little risky. If I go for this play, I can play down Choice Band and use this Guzma. That would lower my hand size to 3. And basically, I am just crossing my fingers that I get an energy off the 2 cards of Abyssal Hand. And here I hit the energy, which means I can knock out Magnuson. So right now I'm doing 180 damage since we have 9 bench Pokemon total in play. And Magenzone only has 150 HP. So nice. Even though I could have taken out one of his, you know, attackers, I could have taken out Dialga potentially. Well, actually no, because Dialga's in the active spot, so I couldn't Guzma around to knock it out. But even if I was able to, I think going for the Magazone would have been the better play. But here, Craig has a second Magazone ready to go. So he's bouncing back after that play pretty nicely here. He just needs some energy to get going. That's the big thing he has been struggling with here. So he has some Pokemon in the discard pile. He can play Super Rod to get them back. That could potentially lower his hand size enough to maybe draw some extra cards. And here he's just going to use the attack to draw more cards. But I think if I'm in correct shoes, I probably would have played the Super Rod, you know, getting those evolution pieces back and allowing you to draw one more card with Dialga GX. But hopefully it doesn't come back to bite him. Here I'm starting to power up another Empoleon, just in case this active one does get knocked out at some point. Here I have Rescue Stretcher, going to get out a Prinplup that I discarded on the first turn. And even though Craig's had kind of a bad hand, I'm still debating on playing this in. Just because I saw him refill his hand until he had 6 cards anyway, so I'm just going to kind of say, you know what, you probably had something you could play on your next turn. I'm going to refresh your hand for you. You know, even though I don't want to, I'll at least get a new hand myself in this process. So I really need a Choice Band here, because right now I'm hitting for, what is that, 160, because there's 8 bench Pokemon play. I need the Choice Band. So I have a energy power up to power up this other Empoleon, have the Choice Band ready to go, and I believe I still have access to Octillery. Oh, maybe I already had 5 cards in hand. I'm not sure what happened there. Otherwise, maybe that was a misplay, or maybe I Abyssal Hand earlier in the turn. I forget, but anyways, took a knockout on Dialga GX, and Craig's gonna have to promote this Dusk Mane Necrozma. I think it actually might be a little bit of a misplay promoting this one. If he promotes the other one that has no tool on it, that does at least give him the flexibility of attaching a Floatstone if he needs to. So kind of a subtle little misplay, I think, but hopefully it does not come back to bite him here. So I'm sure Craig is going to be digging for some energy. So since he has not used a GX move yet, he does still have access to Dusk Mane Necrozma's GX move as well. For 3 metal energy does 250, but you can only use it if you are the one that's behind on prizes. So if he can get 2 metal energy, he's going to be in a good spot here. And he does have it, okay. And now, even though Craig is a little bit behind, he can actually put himself in kind of a good spot, because once this Empoleon goes down, I'm not going to have a way to actually take a knockout on this Dusk Mane Necrozma GX. It has 190 hit points, and I'm only hitting for 140, I believe it is right now, since there's, well, actually only 120, because I need another bench Pokemon to even max out my damage. So I think what I'm going to do here is actually attack with Prinplup. That might seem really odd, but I can't knock out this Necrozma with my Empoleon. So what I can do is I can attack with this Prinplup. It has an attack for 1 water energy. Does 20 damage, you flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active is now paralyzed. So potentially this can soften up this Necrozma just enough to knock out with Empoleon on the next turn. I'll just need to do 20 this turn and then get a Choice Band and finish taking a knockout on the next turn. So here I'm going to play N, putting myself down at 3 cards, which isn't a big deal because I still have access to Octillery as well. So even if I don't draw much that I can use, I can still draw an extra few cards per turn. Okay, so let's see. I get a Mr. Mime, a Cynthia, and a Lele, a Piplup, and I did not see the other card, so unfortunately not a whole lot that I can really make use of right now. But I really need a heads here. And I do get the head, so that's actually really big. That means this Necrozma is going to be paralyzed and will not be able to attack or retreat this turn. And actually Craig does not run anything like Switch or Escape Rope or even Acerola, so I'm pretty sure this thing is going to be stuck here unless he has some sort of Guzma Floatstone combo. So it looks like he's opting to start powering up this other Necrozma and kind of seeing, you know what, this active one might get knocked out on my next turn, so, or on Eric's next turn, so I need to kind of prepare for that just in case. So I'm not sure what else he has. Okay, looks like he has yet another Metal Energy. Yes, that definitely seems good. And he's going to play Tapu Lele, so let's see what he's going to grab here. So let's see, looks like he's eyeing down Fisherman. I'm not sure how useful that is. I don't believe I saw a draw supporter in Craig's hand, so I think that's honestly what he might want to go for here. Unless I'm mistaken. He could have gone for a Guzma, but like I said, I did not see a draw supporter, so I think he's just going to have to go for Cynthia here and refresh his hand. So I'm sure he would have loved a Guzma play, maybe knocking out this Empoleon, but like I said, that would have left him without very little to work with on his following turn. If he had done that, would have been very risky. So here he's doing the safe thing and refreshing his hand, trying to get some other resources potentially. Unfortunately, not too much else he can really use that I can see. And yes, I think I see a Guzma, I think I see an N and Ultra Ball. So like I said, not too much he really wants to, I think, get in play this turn. So unfortunately, I think he might just have to pass here. And he does. Okay, so what do I do here? I really need an Empoleon and a Choice Band. Or I need an Energy and a Choice Band. Or a Floatstone and a Choice Band. Basically, I need to have a powered up Empoleon with Choice Band to knock out this Necrozma. So I really want to do that here. Here, I was about to play Cynthia, but then I realized, wait, I have Guzma potentially. I could actually go for a Guzma here, but the question is it worth it? I'm trying to think. I could potentially take out this Magenzone, since I would, I believe, do 160, which would knock it out, but the only reason I'm kind of shying away from that play is because that these Necrozmas all have a good amount of energy already on them. So, you know, if he only had the one Necrozma fully powered up, I would be much more tempted to go for the Magazine, but here I kind of want to get the two prizes instead. So, hopefully it does not come back to bite me. I think I actually whiffed what I needed to, which is unfortunate. So I do have an energy in hand. I could potentially attach to like Lele or something, or I can just save it to potentially power up that Piplup I have in hand whenever it can come into play. But here I'm going to do 20 more damage, and unfortunately I flip tails, so definitely a little bit of an uneventful turn for me. Definitely I think a missed opportunity to take a knockout here. But you know what, I'm still ahead on prizes, so I'm feeling okay about my situation. The only thing is this Prinplup is going to go down, which means I'm only going to have one, basically, Empoleon on the field, which is kind of scary. So this turn, assuming this Prinplup gets knocked out, I'm definitely going to need to get down another Piplup and start powering up another Empoleon at some point. And luckily I have that Octillery in play, because even though I'm going to get 3 cards, I can still just draw out of it with that Abyssal Hand ability. It lets you draw until you have 5 cards in hand. So it looks like Craig got 5 cards. I don't see too much he can really use though. So he actually may have whiffed the knockout here, which would be pretty big. He has a Floatstone. That's the only card I think he could really play down, but no, not much reason to. So he's just going to have to do 60 to this Prinplup. So a huge missed opportunity. So now I have 2 Octilleries online, which means I can start doing a lot. So I have Empoleon in hand. I can just evolve into that. I have the energy ready to go. I'm going to use Abyssal Hand yet again. And I have a Cynthia, so I can actually play that and refresh my hand. Or I think here's kind of what I'm opting to do is, you know, assuming Craig is able to take a knockout here, I can actually bench that Lele I have in hand and maybe go for a Guzma this turn, depending on what Craig might put in play. That's assuming he puts something else in place. I'm just gonna give myself the option. There's not too much else I really want this turn, or that last turn anyways, so I'm just gonna try to give myself the most amount of options. And here Craig is going for an Ultra Ball, so this is kind of what I was counting on here. So he's gonna opt to get rid of Bridget and Magnemite. So what is he going to go for at this point? He could go for another Necrozma. Not sure how good that is, because if this active one goes down, I just lose anyways. But here it looks like he is eyeing down the Ultra Prism Star that's in his deck. Not sure how good that is, because I think I can just knock that out in one hit as well. So here he's just double checking you know, how much damage I'm doing. But here it looks like he's actually going to go for a Rangaroo. I'm not sure if I like that. I think that's a little bit too risky. You know, Rangaroo is great to ensure that you're end-proof in the late game, but you know, in this particular situation, I think it's just such a liability, because I have a pretty big hand and I still have a Guzma left in the deck, so he's kind of just asking to get that thing Guzma'd up for the final prize. So here I'm going to promote the Octillery, I'm bench Lele, and I need Guzma to be in the deck, and it is there, so what I can do is I can Guzma up that Rangaroo and take a knockout with Octillery. So I am going to take the first game in the series, but we are playing a best of 3 here, so we have a couple more games to get in and show off these decks. So Craig still definitely has a chance to bring it back and potentially win the next 2 games here. So we'll have to see how these next games are going to kind of go for him. So really, I think the big thing that he's going to have to keep in mind, oh, and there you can see he had 2 of his Mount Coronets prized. Those are definitely a big card in this matchup. So yeah, basically with Craig, the big thing is he just has to be careful of how many bench Pokemon that he has in play. That's going to be the big thing, because if he can prevent me from taking one-hit knockouts, that is going to be the way he is going to win this matchup. So as long as he's mindful of that and draws half decently, he definitely has a shot in this series, I think. So let's see, I don't think really beyond that there's not too much else to really think about, especially on my end. This Empoleon deck, it's very linear strategy, very straightforward deck, so not too much else I can really do to adjust for this matchup. Just kind of get out Empoleons and swing for lots of damage. And here I am going to mulligan, unfortunately. You know, it's never fun to mulligan, but especially when you are going second and giving your opponent that extra card on their first turn, it's never something you like to do. So here it looks like Craig ripped a sleeve, and just is going to replace that card real quick that got damaged there. So let's see, I'm trying to think. I'm not sure what Craig is opening with. Oh, he does have a Lele in hand, so that's good. He will be able to bridge it on first turn. But again, it's unfortunate if he ever has to bench Lele. Ideally, he wants to go the entire game without having to bench any Leles, I think. And here I do get a Piplup, but beyond that, my hand is trash. So that is not what I want to see. And Craig is going first too, so I'm just not excited about how this game looks like it could go. So let's see what Craig is going to do here. He does have that Lele. I saw he has a Cynthia in hand as well. So looks like he's going to go for Lele. I'm assuming going to go for a Bridget. That would make probably the most sense to me here. So I'll have to see what he's going to do. So it looks like he's eyeing down that Bridget there. He's kind of pulled that out a little bit. But probably just taking a look through what else is in the deck. So here he is going to go for the Bridget. And he's going to grab himself a Dusk Mane Necrozma. And he's actually just going to leave it at that. So I think this actually may have been a slight misplay, because if I'm not mistaken, I think he had Ultra Ball in his hand. And if that's the case, you know what? I think maybe he could just gone for the Ultra Ball to get out the Necrozma without having to bench anything. But you never know. If he has Rare Candy in hand, I guess maybe going, keeping the Ultra Ball for a Magazone could be good. But here I'm just going to have to attach an attack for 10, so this is not the best game. So if Craig is able to get out Magenzone here, which it looks like he is going to discard. It looks like a Magneton and end, so that tells me he's going to go straight for this Magazone if I just had to guess. And that's kind of scary, because all Craig needs is 3 energy, and he's going to be able to actually knock out this Piplup, which is kind of sketchy. So Dialga GX does have another attack just for a metal and double colorless, does 80 damage, and it goes through any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So yep, not too many resources needed. And here he's going to go for a Cynthia. And actually I think it's kind of a slight thing, but I think it could have increased his odds of hitting what he needed. He had, I believe, a Choice Band and a Field Blower in hand. So what he could have done, he actually could have attached the Choice Band, Field Blowered it off, because especially since Choice Band is a dead card in this matchup, for the most part, there's certain situations where it could be good, but generally it's a bad card here. That could have potentially increased his odds of drawing into Metal Energy. So I think that is a little bit of a misplay on his part here. And I do see another Metal Energy, but not a third one. And it looks like he's opting to attach it to the Dusk Mane Necrozma. I'm not sure how much I like that, because if you just have one more energy, you can just win. So I feel like you either attach it to Dialga or just keep it in hand, since you can attach it anytime with the Magenzone anyways. And here he's going to bench a Rangaroo, and I guess he's just trying to play down his hand to draw more cards with Dialga. So he just has to be careful though, because if he benches too many Pokemon, you know, that is definitely going to put him in a bad spot if I ever do Stabilize. And here I get out Prinplup, and I do 20 damage. The one good thing about this is Prinplup has 90 hit points, which means Dialga can't actually knock me out unless he has all 5 energy to use that crazy GX attack that it has. That's like 5 energy, 150 damage, and you get an extra turn whenever you use it. So that would be able to knock me out here. So let's see if he's able to pull it off. He does have another Metal Energy in his hand. And does he have anything else? Does he? I don't think he has another supporter that I can see. I see a Fisherman. I think I see Guzma, but nothing else that he can really play here. Oh, well, that's not true. He does have, I believe, a Choice Band. And I think he actually might have Bridget in his hand as well. And if that's the case, he can actually just play Bridget and fail it and then draw an extra card with Dialga. So maybe a slight little misplay there, I'm not sure. But here I'm going to do 20 damage and get the paralysis on this Dialga. So I am barely hanging in there. I just need to draw, you know, a supporter. I need a way to draw cards. If I could just top deck a Bridget, that would be amazing. So yet again, Craig just keeps drawing cards he can't really play down. He does have Super Rod, he can play that and get that Magneton back in his deck. I think it's one of the only options that he has right now. So he could play that, and he could play that Bridget, but here he's just going to pass over back to me. He couldn't even attack that turn anyway, so I guess no real rush to play down the cards, I suppose. And yet again, I have nothing I can do. I basically just have to keep trying to paralyze this Dialga and just try to draw into something here. So I do have this Guzma, but I'm just trying to think if it really even gets me anywhere. Because basically this Dialga needs basically 4 energy to knock me out, or 2 energy to retreat and an energy on the Necrozma to knock me out. And if I Guzma up a Rangaroo or Magenzone, it's kind of the same thing. So I feel like I just save the Guzma and go for the paralysis, but I do whiff, it looks like. So let's see here. So Craig does have another Field Blower. He can burn that to get rid of his Choice Band. He can play the Super Rod. He can, if that is a Bridget in his hand, he can play it. So he is going to get rid of his Field Blower. He's going to get rid of Super Rod. Well, play Super Rod, I should say. So he's going to get that Magneton back in his deck. You know, trying to do everything he can just to barely draw an extra card or two with this Dialga, because he really wants to, you know, take this game from me before I can draw out of this bad hand. And unfortunately, I still have nothing to work with. So I just have to just keep my fingers crossed and hope I can get lucky on these flips until I can get myself something to work with. And I flip Tails, and that is pretty bad because I think Craig actually did finally get a draw supporter. And he has an energy as well, so he's going to get an energy down on this Necrozma. And basically, if he does have a supporter like I thought I saw there, yeah, he does have Cynthia, so he can play that, shuffle his hand back up, draw a fresh hand of 6. If he gets Floatstone, he just wins, or if he gets 2 energy, he just wins. Since the Floatstone or 2 energy would allow him to retreat to take a knockout with this Dusk Mane Necrozma GX. So Big 6 cards here. Let's see what he gets. So he has Mount Coronet. I don't know how good that is, but he does have the Float Stone, so he can actually retreat and take a knockout. And here, oh man, that would have been a lot of lucky flips I would have had to have gotten. So I wouldn't have drawn into anything for a long time. So yeah, Empoleon kind of bricked on me, but that's just how Stage 2 decks go sometimes. If it's Empoleon, whether it's Gardevoir, whether it's Decidueye, anyone who's ever played a deck that's based around Rare Candy can tell you, you know, sometimes you just get these like really weird unplayable hands with all these evolution pieces, and this deck was definitely no exception. So hopefully in this third game we have a little bit more of an exciting game here that's more back and forth than me just trying to flip for paralysis every turn. So if I can adjust my strategy for this third game, it's to shuffle better. That's the one thing I would absolutely love to do here, and just not draw dead. Because I feel like once this Empoleon deck gets a couple of Pokemon going, it just kind of starts to pick up steam and snowball. So Craig is going to mulligan. I will not turn that down. I'm starting with Vulpix, the deck's best starter. Start with getting to draw an extra card from mulligan and a card for turn. So definitely this looks to be a pretty good opening. I think I have an Ultra Ball, so I'm like basically guaranteed Bridget at this point. Okay, so let's see, does Craig finally get a basic? And yes, I believe I see a Magnemite in his hand. And it looks like he has a Dialga as well that he is going to choose to save, it appears. Okay, so let's see. I do have Ultra Ball, and I think I get rid of the Water Energy. I don't need that right away. I already have Vulpix in the active spot, so there's nothing really I need to retreat. And I can always get that Water Energy back out of the discard pile with Aqua Patch at some point as well. So I'm going to go for a Bridget, grabbing 3 base Pokemon, definitely grabbing Remoraid, a Piplup, and hopefully my other Remoraid, because I do run a 2/2 Octillery line in this deck. I do have a Piplup in hand as well, so if I can get 2 Remoraids and 2 Piplups on the first turn, that would be great. But here, I think I did prize the Remoraid, so I'm going to have to just go for another Piplup, which is not the end of the world by any means either. So I think it's actually a fine opening. Like I said, I have the additional Piplup in hand, so 3 Piplups, Remoraid, and a Alolan Vulpix on my first turn. Definitely not something to be sad about. And so here, while I'm in my deck, I'm just kind of taking a look and seeing what else is in there. And here, me and Craig were discussing this. He just realized, wait, Dialga is probably a better starter than this Magnemite. And, I told him, you know what, you have Dialga in hand, dude, go ahead and put it as your active Pokemon. We're just playing for fun, trying to test out these decks, so it's not a tournament, so I don't care if you take anything back. I'm not stressing over it. So, and one thing that is important to note too, whenever we do these testing rounds videos, a lot of times these are our first couple times ever playing with the decks. Craig in particular was nice enough to show up to help me record this video, so this was actually his first time playing the deck. So he's actually figuring out this matchup and figuring out this deck as he's playing this, so there might be some small misplays here and there in this video series, so just something to be mindful of. So here it looks like he's going to discard a Bridget with Ultra Ball. That's interesting. Definitely not a play you normally see on the first turn. He's getting rid of that and a Field Blower, and so let's see what he's going to go for. Maybe just grabbing a Dusk Mane Necrozma right off the bat. That could be good. Okay, so here he's going for a Lele to grab Cynthia. Huh. So I have to say, I really, really do not like this play. It just seems really confusing. You know, with this, against this Empoleon deck, like I've mentioned, you have to make sure you don't play a bunch of excessive Pokemon on the bench. So going for the Lele is really confusing. I feel like you would be fine just going for the Necrozma and then using Dialga to refill your hand. The Lele play is just really confusing to me. And not playing the supporter either, so that's interesting. And here I actually forgot to bench that extra Piplup I was talking about. So I was telling Craig, you know what, hey, I misplayed too, man, don't feel too bad. And here I'm just going to end. You know, I saw Craig go for the Cynthia and not play it, so I was kind of thinking, well, I need a new hand anyways, and to me that kind of tells me you probably have Rare Candy Magenzone if you're not even going to play your supporter, so yeah, I'm definitely going to give you a different hand. And here it looks like I have Octillery. I have Ultra Ball, so I can actually get out a rare candied Empoleon, so I can play Ultra Ball, discarding a Mr. Mime. I have that in my hand right now. And looks like I can probably get rid of either an N or a Sycamore. So I've already played one in, and I really want to save them for the late game if possible. So I think I should probably get rid of Sycamore here. I think that's probably best. So, or I could opt to just hang on to my hand for next turn, but I feel like it's too good to just go ahead and get the guaranteed Empoleon, just in case Craig has an N of his own or something like that. So gonna go for the Empoleon here. Like I said, I have that rare candy, and I still have Abyssal Hand on Octillery. That ability lets me draw until I have 5 cards, so I can keep actually drawing and maybe get some other resources. If I can get an energy into play, that would actually be the big thing I really need. So rare candy, Empoleon, and then I'm going to draw until I have 5 cards, like I said. So no energy, but the good thing is that I do have access to Aqua Patch in this deck, since you know, it is a water-based deck. So I will be able to power up an Empoleon pretty quickly at some point here. And looks like Craig does have the rare candy Magenzone off that new hand that I end him into, so not something I like to see. And here he's going to play Professor Sycamore. And here he actually attaches a Floatstone to Dialga. I'm not sure how much I like that, just because Dialga is actually a Pokemon you want to manually retreat with. Just because if you ever use its GX attack, you're kind of stuck with a lot of energy on it. So it's something I would maybe consider actually attaching the Magenzone instead, since Magenzone has kind of an annoying 2 retreat cost. And here I can't tell what else he has in his hand, but he's going to go for an Ultra Ball, discarding a Fisherman and a Metal Energy. So that's interesting. So he's not going to have access to Fisherman this game. I believe that's his only one that he runs in the deck. He's going to grab himself a Dusk Mane Necrozma. So finally getting that thing into play. Like I said, if he had done that on the first turn, instead of going for the Lele, he would be able to keep his bench at a much more manageable level. But here he's going to attach to Dialga, and he has all 5 energy to use Dialga's stupid, crazy GX move, 150 damage, and he gets an additional turn. So, what a crazy GX move. It's unfortunate he had to use it on Vulpix, but we were actually chatting about this after the match, and basically we were both talking about it's like kind of a bad play to waste the GX move on a Vulpix, but he was saying that he really wanted to get it caught on camera to show off this Dialga for you guys. So I hope his sacrifice was not in vain, kind of wasting the GX move on the Vulpix. Granted, he still did get an additional prize, so it's not the end of the world or anything, you know, for knocking out the Vulpix, but and he got an extra turn, so it's still not like the worst play, but he probably could have saved it to use on something else at some point. But yeah, so let's see, he is getting an extra turn. Now what would be big is if he was actually able to knock out this Lele with his Dusk Mane Necrozma, but I don't think he even has the energy to be able to do it, unfortunately. So he can just attack for 80 because Dialga does have that one attack, Shred, to do 80, and it goes through effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. And the other reason I don't like the Floatstone on here is because now he can't attach a Choice Band and clean up a knockout on this Lele either. So Floatstone, kind of a nice card, you know, gives you free retreat, but definitely I think it's coming back to bite him in this deck. So here, let's see what I'm going to get into play. I do have an Empoleon in hand that is definitely good. And I'm going to need a lot here. I need Floatstone, Energy, Attach, Choice Band, and I can actually take a knockout on this Dialga. Or if I can get Energy, Aqua Patch, Guzma, that would also be really good, because then I could bring up this Magenzone and take it out before this Necrozma gets powered up. So here I'm going to Ultra Ball, going for Piplup, so it kind of confirms that my Remoraid is prized, so I'm going for that instead of a second Octillery. So just trying to play down my hand, draw some more cards. Let's see if I can grab it. If I can get the Aqua Patch and Energy, that would be so clutch. And I get the Energy, so that's one thing, but unfortunately it's not quite good enough. So here I'm just going to play Cynthia, and refreshing my hand to draw a fresh hand of 6. You know, maybe... You know, I can maybe still get a knockout. I just need Floatstone and Aqua Patch. I would have preferred to knock out Magenzone here, but I could still get a knockout on this Dialga if I draw the right things here. So let's see what I can make happen. So I got Floatstone and no Aqua Patch, unfortunately. You can see Craig is amped about that. So, okay, so Craig did whiff the return KO on this Lele after his free turn. And looks like I'm going to whiff a knockout as well, so I guess we're even, Craig. I guess that's at least fair, I suppose. So I do have a Field Blower in hand, but I actually don't want to discard this Floatstone for the reasons I've mentioned before. With Dialga, you actually want to manually retreat it after the GX move has been used. That way you can actually reuse the energy on a different Pokemon. So let's see, I guess I'm just going to have to pass. You know, I could attach Floatstone and retreat into maybe Prinplup that has 90 HP, and Dialga would actually not be able to knock it out, but I don't really want to waste my Floatstone on a Lele. I'd prefer it to be on Octillery since it has an annoying 2 retreat cost. And Dialga can't actually knock out Lele either, so it's a little bit risky leaving this in the active spot, but I don't think he's actually going to have a way to take a knockout on this Lele unless he gets 4 energy on this Dusk Mane Necrozma GX. So he has 5 energy in play, 1 energy in the discard pile, and I'm not sure if he has any prize, but he has half of his energy already in use, so I'm actually feeling pretty good about my chances of not being knocked out here. So off his 6 cards, what does he get? He gets 1 energy, so that's good at least. So he can at the very least start to power up this Dusk Mane Necrozma to potentially start taking some one-hit knockouts in future turns. So let's see what he's going to do here. He's going to attach. He has a Rangaroo, but I honestly don't think he needs to bench it. And here he's just going to do the 80 damage to this Tapu Lele. So a big whiff on his part here. I'm going to get a Floatstone down, I am sure, to retreat and take a knockout here. And I'm not sure what else is in my hand, but if I have access to Guzma, that's something I would love as well. So here I have 3 Empoleons in play. This is crazy. And here I really want to get a Magenzone if possible. So I'm playing, or Guzma up Magenzone if possible, so I'm playing down my hand pretty low, trying to dig for Guzma, and I do hit it, so that's actually a really big card to get here. So I don't like having to put all of my tools in play like this, because that's a lot of Field Blower targets, but I think I really needed to dig to take out this Magenzone before Necrozma got powered up. So gonna play the Guzma, of course. You know, I really don't care that this Dialga has a ton of energy. It only does 80 damage to my Empoleon, so even though I'm not taking a GX knockout this turn, you know, Dialga's really not a threat to me. I feel confident if I have to 2-shot Dialga because it does the same to me, but I only give up 1 prize as opposed to the 2 that it gives up. So I'm feeling pretty good about my situation here, being able to take out his only source of energy, Acceleration. So definitely, he's going to promote that Dialga GX since it at least has the Floatstone, has free retreat. And so Craig definitely needs to get another Magnemite down. That's going to be the big thing this turn. He has Super Rod, so he can definitely do it. That's not a problem at all. I didn't get a good look at what else is in his hand. I think I saw a Metal Energy. Or actually that might be a Magneton in his hand, not a Metal Energy. So let's see what he's going to opt to do here. I think I see an N potentially in there. He's going to play the N, and I think that's actually a misplay. You know, you have the Super Rod, you need Magenzone on the field in order to win this game. So I think he honestly misplayed not getting the Magenzone line back in the deck, or at least getting the Energy, Magnemite, and Magenzone back in the deck, because you need your energy too. Since your Fisherman is gone, you have a bunch of energy already in play. So yeah, I definitely think that is a bit of a misplay on Craig's part there, and so let's see what he's going to opt to do. He has a Choice Band. He can put it down if he wants. I don't think it does too much for him right now, but you can at least get it in play. And here now he has to kind of get in this 2-shot war with me. The one thing he does have going for him is that he actually is not going to be knocked out in 1 hit. He would have needed a 3rd bench Pokemon for me to be able to take a 1-hit knockout. So he's kind of being smart, playing around my Dialga, or I'm sorry, around my Empoleon if he can. So what am I going to do here? Okay, so I actually have a couple options. I have Aqua Patch in hand, I have the Water Energy, so I can power up a fresh Empoleon and take a knockout, or not take a knockout, but soften up this Dialga GX. So I'm going to Aqua Patch. I'm going to attach to the one that does not have a Choice Band, and the reason I'm doing this is because I have to 2-shot this Dialga either way, so I rather, and the Choice Band really doesn't help me in that, so I'd rather keep the Choice Banded Empoleon safe to maybe use later at some point. Okay, so definitely going to promote this guy. Have an Aqua Patch so I can start feeding some energy onto that other fresh Empoleon I have on the board. And here I'm going to use Abyssal Hand. So I do draw a Rescue Stretcher. Do I have anything I want to get back? And I guess not. So here I'm just going to play Cynthia, refreshing my hand to 6. Not sure really what else I need this turn. I'm in a good spot, I think. I don't really need Field Blower. I guess if I had another Aqua Patch, I won't turn it down. Maybe get another Evolution piece into play. Not that I need it at this point. And here I have Rare Candy and Empoleon. So I have 4 Penguins on the field at this point. So I am definitely no shortage of attackers right now. And here I can just attack this Dialga GX. Looks like I did 140 to it. And here it looks like Craig has a Field Blower, so I'm sure he's going to want to play this thing down. So what does he discard? That's the big question. I think you definitely discard the Choice Band on the fresh Empoleon. And I feel like you get rid of the Floatstone on Octillery. Because it looks like, well, it looks like he's opting to get rid of both Choice Bands, which I think is still okay because he's seen firsthand how having that extra 30 damage makes a difference in terms of knocking out his GXs like his Necrozmas and everything. So it looks like he's going to retreat and he's going to go for a Lele, so interesting. And he's going to go for a Guzma. I'm not sure how much I like this. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world because he can bring up this Lele and get a free 2 prizes basically. But he does not have a Magnemite in play, and he's, you know, kind of setting up his bench to where, you know, he has a bunch of Pokemon in play, but he doesn't even have Magenzone or anything to really respond with once this Dialga GX gets knocked out. So he's going to go for the Guzma on the Lele. I do think that is the correct play over the damaged Empoleon at the least, just because I have a bunch of other Empoleons in play already that have energy, so really doesn't do him too much good to go that route. So here, I'm definitely going to be able to take a knockout on this Dialga GX, so what do I do beyond that though? So here I'm just going to play N. You know, putting Craig down at 3 cards. He doesn't have something like a Rangaroo in play to draw out of it, hopefully. And, you know, even though Craig is winning right now, I still feel pretty good about my position. You know, I'm going to go down to 3 prizes this turn. I have basically a fully developed board. He doesn't even have a Magenzone. And like I said, after I knock out this Dialga, I just don't think he really has much to really work with here. Okay, so Dialga is going to get knocked out, and a bunch of energy is going to hit the discard pile finally. And here I think Craig may have made a little bit of a misplay promoting this Necrozma. You know, it has a massive 3 retreat cost. Lele only has 1 retreat cost. And especially if you don't have Magnemite in play, I feel like, you know, attacking with Lele is actually probably the better play here. Just because you need an insane 4 energy to take a knockout with your Necrozma, whereas Lele can at least 2-shot an Empoleon with 2 energy attached to it. So I think it's going to be a lot to ask for if he does not get another Magenzone play. But here he does have an Ultra Ball, so maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe he is going to be able to get another Magnemite into play. So he's going to Ultra Ball. He's going to discard, looks like, a Dusk Mane Necrozma and a Mount Coronet. So Mount Coronet, he definitely has to be mindful of. His Fisherman has already been discarded, and Mount Coronet is his only other way, other than Super Rod at this point, to retrieve energy. So we haven't actually seen too much of it in this series, but Mount Coronet is a new Stadium card. It allows a player to get 2 metal energy from their discard pile and put it into their hand. So definitely a lot of synergy with this Magenzone style deck here. But I believe he does have another one in his hand, so he will be able to at least get 1 into play. So here I definitely have some options. I can try to 2-shot this Solgaleo, or not Solgaleo, it always looks like a Solgaleo, it throws me off, this Dusk Mane Necrozma, or actually I think what I can do is, I can actually go for a Rescue Stretcher here, and go for a Lele, and I think I actually have 1 Guzma left in the deck, so I can go for Lele here, and go for Guzma, taking out Craig's Magnemite, kind of ensuring that this Magenzone does not come into play. And even though Craig is getting kind of close to powering up this Necrozma, I don't think he has enough energy, and I don't think he can power up enough energy on this thing quickly enough to take his last couple prizes. So even if he gets 1 more attack off of this thing, I think that's it, to be honest. And here you can see he top decks the Rare Candy to evolve into Magenzone, so you can see I trolled him pretty hard here. So definitely unfortunate for Craig. And one thing that's also important to note for this Empoleon, it does have a second attack. It's not that relevant, but here it actually could be of use. So for 3 energy you do 90, and then you discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So this is actually really good in this situation now, because it's going to basically keep Craig at only 3 energy, which means he can only use Dusk Mane Necrozma's first attack to do 60 damage, which is not nearly as good as its other attack. Okay, so Craig does get a fresh hand here. Does he have a way to get a Magnemite down? That's going to be the big thing he really needs here. And here he just has to do 60 damage, so I am completely fine with this. I can attach that water energy and do 90 damage to soften up this Dusk Mane Necrozma, and then discard that metal energy too, preventing him from taking a knockout. So Craig did Sycamore into a fresh hand of 7. So I'm going to end him back down to 3 cards. I'm myself only going to get 2 cards, but I still have that Octillery, so I can actually draw out of my new hand. So even though I do feel confident about my situation, I want to take away potentially any option that Craig might have to still stay in this game. So you're going to Field Blower, getting rid of that Mount Coronet. I want to prevent Craig from getting any energy back. He's already gone through a lot. I don't think he has enough to close out a game, so I want to take that option away. And I'm actually going to leave the Choice Band, because I think he still has a Floatstone left in his deck, and I don't want him to have access to that. So let's see, he does draw a Metal Energy. He can attach it and do 60 damage, but then he just gets knocked out. Or similarly, he can discard all 3 energy and retreat. But here he's going to bench a Rangaroo and draw an extra card with it. And he top decks Super Rod, which is actually kind of a decent card to get. He gets 3 Metal Energy back into his deck here. And I think he has an N in hand as well, so we might see him play that and maybe attempt to try to set up a Magenzone before the end of the game here. So let's see what he's going to opt to do. I don't see what the other card in his hand is. So here it looks like he's probably just checking how much damage I'm doing. Right now I'm hitting for, I believe it's 160, before factoring in any choice bands or anything like that. So here he's going to play the end, yet again, putting me down at a 2-card hand, but I really don't mind, because like I keep mentioning, I do have that Octillery to draw out of it if need be. And so yeah, Craig can hit me for 60, but if he does, he just gets knocked out, or he can retreat using all of his energy, promoting something else, and then not having any energy ready to go. So here I'm just going to attach some more energy just for the fun of it, and we're just going to knock out this Dusk Mane Necrozma GX for the game, taking the series 2-1. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this look at these early Ultra Prism decks. Definitely stay tuned, we will have deck profiles for both of these posted within the next couple days, so definitely check back for those. Links will be in the description too whenever those profiles go live, so definitely check those out whenever they do get uploaded. And if you're new to the channel, definitely stick around too, because we're going to have a ton of Ultra Prism coverage coming up over the next couple weeks. We'll have more matches like this, deck profiles, etc. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. As usual, feel free to like and subscribe, and if you can support our channel by picking up something from our online store at rarecandytcg.com, including either of those playmats that you saw featured in this video, or becoming a patron over at our patreon.com/rarecandytcg, it would mean a lot to us. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.